Many of us go to live concerts to hear music, but we also go for an experience. Thanks to VSA Massachusetts, that kind of experience will be available even for people with disabilities as part of its series, Inclusive by Design. To tell us about the concert plan for June 18th is our guest from VSA, the Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, Charles Washburn. Thank you very much for being with us, Charles.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
So what is this concert going to be like?
Well, it's going to be like no other because what we're doing is demonstrating what a concert or any performing arts experience would be like if you applied the principles of universal design from the very beginning. And as a result, we've worked with the two blues musicians, and we've created a set that is very rich in visual content and narrative content. The reason being, besides the music, there will also be visual art applied. And we've hired a painter, Nancy Ostrowski, who will live on stage interpret the music in a large canvas. And to add to that experience, we will be captioning everything that's said or sung so that if you don't hear it, you can read it, or if you just prefer, you miss a piece or you just are more into the spoken or the written word, you've got that avenue into the experience. We'll also have live on stage American Sign Language interpreters who will be interpreting everything that's said or sung in this very visual language. Almost both the painter and the American Sign Language interpreters provide a kind of performance art element. If that weren't enough, many theater experiences have been provided over the years using a technique called audio description, particularly for people who are blind, that gives them say in a play, a running commentary on what the visual elements are. We have a different twist on that, and we actually provide a description using the spoken word, a very creative interpretation of all the visual elements. And instead of, say, whispering them in the ear of the people who are blind, we share that with the entire audience. So there's this whole use of language. So visual art, language, performance art, as well as the singing and music, and very engaged musical performance.
This is Being on News. We're talking with Charles Washburn of VSA Massachusetts. Charles, I'm going to bring up an excerpt from an earlier concert in this series with the same featured performer. Charles, tell me about this man at the piano, because he also is a person with a disability.
Yes, he is. Henry is blind. He's also, I think, interestingly enough, a very visually oriented person. Besides his obvious expertise as a vocalist and a pianist, he's an award-winning photographer. An art that he got into quite deliberately in order to develop his sense of intuition. So he's a very complex and multifaceted fellow. When we did our first concert with him, he was completely taken by the audio description. The audio describer, we had large jumbotrons. It was a big arena in Boise, Idaho, and the describer described what we all could see, which was a blurring effect of his fingers at the keyboard. This radiant smile comes across Henry's face, because he had never had that kind of look onto what his performance looked like.
How do you convey it to the audience? Because if he's doing that with the piano and you get people who have impaired hearing, How do they sense that something like that is happening with the piano?
Well, first of all, they do have all the visual elements, and it's a very rich visual scene, which is why we incorporate the visual art, because there's something for all of us to enjoy as this very creative piece evolves.
And it looks almost like someone's finger painting with a lot of
That's
bright
right.
primary colors there.
Yeah,
right?
she uses squeegees and squeeze bottles and all kinds of things. And she does, we do have to protect the stage with quite a bit of plastic. She does come away all covered in paint. And the thing about the whole experience is, it sounds, when I describe it, it seems quite overwhelming, like a sensory overload. And when you're there, you begin once you begin to relax and get used to the idea that a lot is going on, you find yourself kind of blending in between the various ways of engaging the art that's happening in front of you. And it's really, it's very telling. When we did the first concert with Henry, it was a jazz festival, and it was in a large arena, and most of the people in the room just came because they were subscribers to the festival. They knew Henry's music and they wanted to see Henry. And we had gone to great extents. We had probably 40 people there who were experiencing audio description. Blind people, people with low vision experienced their first audio description ever. All kinds of different people being very deliberately accommodated. The people who were the most excited at that conference, we had that concert, we had a little reception afterwards. The people that were most, pardon the pun, jazzed weren't the folks that we were providing, that we were kind of deliberately engaging. It was the folks who just came in off the street to hear Henry and had themselves the experience they wanted, but enhanced by using all of their senses.
This is BNN News. We're talking with Charles Washburn of VSA Massachusetts. What does that do for people in the audience? I've been to concerts, and some people, they're blasé. They're not even that into it. And you're talking about people who have trouble absorbing it. What does this do for them?
Well, we are all on this great human continuum of abilities and disabilities, and we move around pretty freely. I mean, there are days when you may have a earache and you end up having low hearing. The way this experience happens is it doesn't matter where you are on that continuum today, and if we're all lucky enough as we age, we're all moving in the same direction. There's a universality to that human experience. And by being really deliberate about engaging all kinds of people, you end up serving everyone just a little bit better.
Well, we should remind our viewers, this is a concert on June 18th. Any more details about time and place?
Sure. We're presenting it as part of the Americans for the Arts Conference, which is in Boston for the first time, all of next week, actually. So it's Saturday, the 18th at 7 p.m. It is free. We are encouraging people to go to Eventbrite and register for tickets, mostly so we can get back in touch with you and see how you like it. Or you can go to our website, vsamass.org, and you can find it there. But it's at the Sheraton Hotel in the conference ballroom. You don't have to be a conferee, although there will be quite a few conferees from all around the country. We have the support from the National Endowment for the Arts, in particular, to help spread this idea about universal design. So the National Endowment for the Arts, and of course our own Mass Cultural Council, which has been really picking up the charge on this concept of universal places, they call it, their UP program. And the City of Boston, which will be rolling out as part of this conference, the new Boston Creates plan for the city, a cultural plan for the city. So all of this kind of combines to this great opportunity to show off this new idea and to share it with the rest of the country and see, hopefully many people will pick up the idea and make it their own.
Inclusive convergence. Thank you very much for being with us.
My pleasure.
Charles Washburn from VSA Massachusetts.